A pleasant good evening, viewers. Javon Wilson here for 284 Media. Now, just yesterday, the Education Labor Connect initiative was launched. This is a great collaboration between many stakeholders, including the Ministry of Education, the Central Statistics Office, Hlscc, the Department of Labor and Workforce Development, and many others, viewers. So today we are sitting down with some of those stakeholders to speak to that initiative and also some of the upcoming programs under the Bviccha umbrella. Stick with us. There's more coming after this quick commercial break.
You value traditions. Today, you value music. You value education. Family.
I love you.
Service.
Thank you. You're welcome.
Love. Life. At Popular, we're committed to you and everything our community values. For the things you value the most, count on us. Popular.
Viewers, welcome back to 284 Media. Now, as promised, a very important interview tonight. We are sitting down with some of the stakeholders behind the Education Labor Connect initiative, just launched, of course, that promises to really identify the skills gap here in the territory, as well as really address the unemployment issues. I am so happy to welcome to our studios Ms. Marva Whitley Dawson. She is the Dean of Workforce at Hlscc. We also have Dr. Carl Dawson. He is a consultant with the Ministry of Education. And in addition to that, of course, a returning face, the beautiful Ms. Kiaya George, the Executive Director of Bviccha. Welcome to 284 Media. Awesome. So I just want to lightly touch on the collaborative effort that we saw launched just yesterday between all these entities as we begin to look at the unemployment issues in the BVI, but also really addressing the needs of BVI landers and belongers. How are you guys as a collective feeling about this collaboration?
I think I want to say yesterday, I call it a match in heaven. Mm-hmm. The reason it's a match in heaven is in order to develop your workforce, you need the college. Well, what workforce is that? That's where the business community comes in, and who ensures that we have employees for the business community, the Department of Labor. So it is a match in heaven, match made in heaven. I almost want to say I stumbled into it because I actually was, I'm gonna use the word avoiding. I was trying not to do this match because I just kind of wanted to take baby steps. I wanted to do this match last year because one of our strategic focuses from our board of directors at the Chamber of Commerce and Hotel Association is workforce development and understanding the needs of the business community as it relates to the people that they employ. And the idea was to reach out to labor and to connect with Marva at the college, and COVID kept interrupting that. I actually think we were scheduled to have a discussion. I do recall that we had one hospitality committee meeting and she was there, and that's where it first came out. And we had a few emails, but COVID just kept interrupting that. So when this year came, like all other businesses, the Chamber had to play catch up. We're still playing catch up. So if you're not a member, please join. If you are a member, please pay your rates.
Yes.
And if you want to support, we welcome that as well. But I had to put that in. But I wanted to take it slow. And I was doing member calls to our members, as I often do. And one of the things that they kept complaining about is, one, the work permits take too long. And two, they want to hire local, but they're not finding skilled workers to do the work that they want. And they don't want to have to bring anyone in because that's very, very costly. And then with the pandemic over last year and this year, they had skilled workers leaving to go back home because they weren't able to work, or they just felt comfortable, more comfortable going back home. So they left, and that just left a humongous gap in what they had going on in their offices or in their realms or within their businesses. So the business community was suffering. So what I did was I reached out to the Department of Labor and talked to the acting commissioner, Michelle McLean, and you know, I just said, hey, I'd like to come at no charge to you and figure it out.
Right.
Help you figure out what the issues are and make some recommendations. And I actually went there for, I guess it was about 6 or 7 weeks, half a day per week. So I
Yes.
would go one morning on a Wednesday. And then I think Carl and Dr. Dawson, and my chairman were in some powwow at a meeting, and I didn't hear anything else about that for a while. And then Yvonne Crabb at the college reached out to me and says, hey, we'd like to do this, this, and that. And that was something that apparently was something different than what Dr. Dawson was doing. And so I said, you know, I've been trying to figure out at what point was I going to reach back out to the college and look back at workforce development with the labor commissioner and the college. I said, hey, we might as well do it now.
Yes.
We had our initial meeting, and then it was, I think someone mentioned, I think this is what Dr. Dawson is working on as well. We reached back out, I think Yvonne reached back out to Dr. Dawson, and here we are.
Voila, we're
a
here.
happy group of people.
Yes, yes. And you touched on a very key element, preparation for the workforce, which of course, you have to touch on the key element of education. And I'm going to bring in Ms. Dawson here, Ms. Whitley Dawson. Education, Hlscc, what we've been recognizing, especially over the last year to two, is the college has really been prioritizing key areas that were not ordinarily considered before to meet the needs of our growing economy, especially as we begin to assess the needs of the territory. So just speak to us about some of those programs and how Hlscc will be collaborating on this particular initiative.
Certainly. Yes, while we were dealing with COVID, my team of professionals have been busy at work. One of the aims of the Workforce Training Division is to collaborate with education and business organizations to offer short training courses to meet workforce training demands and for individual interests. So we reached out to the business community. We targeted a number of industries and we placed a call to find out about their training needs.
Yes.
And we have been developing proposals, and a number of those proposals are enacted today. So we are heavily engaged with training a number of our sectors. I'm pleased to say that the college itself has a lot of data. I recall back in 2016, at the time Dr. Dawson was president of the institution, we did a huge survey, and that survey produced a lot of data that speak about our students' outcomes, about our programs. And we have that information to share with a lot of our business partners. And through this initiative, we want to gather information from you. I know Miss George is going to be getting a lot of that data through the chamber and through the business stakeholders outreach that is scheduled for December 7th. We want to hear from our business stakeholders about what their training needs are, so we can use that data to design training programs and other short courses to meet the training needs of the people in the industry. Now, I'm happy to share that we have changed the whole focus of how we have been introducing short courses. We've shifted from tradition to a more flexible, accessible approach. We are now heavily focused on certifications.
Okay.
Industry, internationally recognized industry-related certifications with a number of our institutional bodies that we work with. You may have heard about some of the certifications, the more recent one with the National Council of Construction Education Research, NSAR. We also have another program certification with the the Maritime Coast Guard agency through which our SDCW courses are certified. We are heavily at work with the American Boating and Yacht Council, the Royal Yachting Association. We have the Chartered Management Institute, the Financial Services Institute that offers a lot of certifications to industry partners. And so, yeah, we have been heavily at work really trying to meet these training needs and keep our economy going. So I can see the first quarter of 2022 being a very busy one at the institution, and I'm looking forward to, you know, getting this initiative jump started and letting folks know that the college is here to serve them. So yes, we are ready. And
Excellent. Now, you mentioned Dr. Dawson when he was president at Hlscc starting the initial assessment, which really served as a catalyst, as a foundation going into this project. Now, Dr. Dawson, I know upcoming soon is a full assessment of the workforce needs, not just from an educational perspective, but from your seat at the Ministry of Education. Can you speak to what that assessment will look like?
Sure. Thank you, Jovan. Well, first thing I'd say that I was president of the college, but that particular study was led by the vice president at the time, Dr. Brian Penn, along with the dean, Dr. Clarissa Lane, and Mr. Raymond Phillips from the Central Statistics Office, which is still very much a partner with us. And that work, in a sense, is being carried on now by the Director of Planning and Institutional Effectiveness at the college, Dr. Patricia Johnson. But the whole picture is to say, there certainly are needs in the community. We have, I would say, the primary institution charged with meeting and fulfilling those needs is the H. Lively Stout Community College in terms of ensuring that persons are prepared for the workplace. In addition to the college, though, even our secondary schools or Elmore Stout High School, as well as the technical school at Vargas Bay, and perhaps even more so that one, because those persons are clearly being trained for the workforce. And the whole system, what we are trying to do is a system of ensuring that information is flowing, information is being gathered, is being analyzed. Mrs. Wheatley Dawson here talked about some of the initiatives they have even since that initial study that they've done. And some of the things that we have upcoming are speaking to that as well. During next week, we expect to be holding some focus group meetings with some sectors and subsectors in industry. And they mentioned the meeting at the industry stakeholders meeting at the college on December 7th, where there'll be another opportunity there to gather information from industry. And then in the new year, in January, we hope to launch an online survey which will be even broader and allow us to reach more persons to gather information. So we want to be able to then design our system as to how needed information gets in and how it is then distributed to the persons needed to make hiring decisions, needing to make curriculum decisions about their program offerings that needs to get to each place that it needs to get. So that is what the Education Labor Connect initiative is about. And the end of it is trying to develop persons in the British Virgin Islands so that businesses in the British Virgin Islands can be successful.
That is wonderful. Now, Mrs. George, you did mention that you consulted with the Acting Labor Commissioner, Ms. Michelle McLean, on the work permit processing. I know that process could be lengthy at times, and especially now as we are reopening to what is considered probably the healthiest tourism season we've seen in 2 to 3 years because of COVID-19. We want to ensure that we are in a position where we are able to process those adequately. You mentioned that you had a first-hand look at some of the complexities behind that process. Coming out of that, what is your understanding of the work permit process?
Well, a lot of my understanding is that a lot of our businesses in the Virgin Islands may not have all the information or may not understand all the processes. So a lot of, when it comes to those type things, the first thing that I always tell people is you got to communicate this. Put a PR plan around this. the chamber, we're going to do the did you knows. But for instance, some of the things that I found were, say, particular applications would be submitted, but the required documentation for a particular industry was missing. And I asked, well, do they know? Where can they get this information? And the information, like this particular document that says, like, if you're coming as a cook, you need this. If you're coming as to work in a hair salon, you need that. That document, it seems, is on the government's website. Well, I said, give it to me, and we'll do did you knows. And just anything that I was learning through that process, even outside of that process, because our community boards here on social media are just ramped with information. So as I would catch something, I would verify it and then do a did you know?
Yeah.
But another key thing was they still have some very manual processes. For instance, we may be concerned that it takes a long time. Well, after you submit the work permit, then it has to go through immigration. And while it's with the new process, while it's going through immigration, it also goes to workforce development.
Okay.
And in order for them to find a match, they have to manually do that.
Wow.
So you may have recalled that they mentioned a job board. One of the things that I'm going to be putting in my recommendation is that they actually have a job board. Why a job board? Because number one, we have a law here that says Virgin Islanders and belongers preferred.
Yes.
Well, I ask, how do we know? And Javon, I don't know if you know this, but I am an IT person.
Okay.
And I look at the processes and the development of those processes into an application. So, I ask, how do you know this? And she says, we don't. And I says, well, isn't that a requirement? So there are these requirements that actually can't be met.
Verified. Right.
Yes, verified because it's all manual.
Yes.
But if we had a job board, say for instance, if I upload my resume and like your known job boards right now. I'm not going to name any, but there are many of them out there that are just international.
Yes.
But if I upload my resume, it'll take keywords out of my resume and it would just automatically begin to search and to match me with jobs.
Right.
That's what we want to get to. We want to get to where instead of putting it in a newspaper, because I told her I buy the newspaper, but I buy the newspaper because I give reading assignments to my children.
Yes.
So I buy the paper and I tell them they have to read an article and tell me about it by the end of the day.
Right.
But that's pretty much the only reason I buy the paper.
Right.
Otherwise, there are so many more mediums to get information from. So while we do have the online news media sites and we do have one of our member businesses, Hire BVI Job Vacancy Board, all of that is disconnected from businesses who are from individuals as well who are seeking employment and from employers who are seeking employees.
Yes.
So if we can connect that and automate that, I'm big on automation. I am very, very big on automation. And that is one thing that I ask, can we not automate the work permit process? Automate the work permit process and do internal audit. And say daily audit 10% of them. But let it go through as long as the workflows and all of that is embedded into the application properly and it can be audited and there's an audit trail and the like. It was one of my recommendations. Right. Let it go through.
Right.
Because we do recognize right now that we have a skills gap. We recognize that. But rather than holding up the process, let's automate this. Let's do skills matching. If you're looking for a diver, there's a resume or there's a person on the job board who has that qualification or who has that experience.
Yes.
Because the word dive is in their resume and it found it.
Right.
Let's match them.
Yes.
Let's get them interviewed.
Yes.
If we really want to employ ourselves, we have to make ourselves available.
Absolutely.
And when I say ourselves, this job board would just be huge.
Yes.
It would be massive.
I agree.
But I do want to say one takeaway from that, the purpose of me going there was to understand it so that I can advise members properly.
Right.
So here's my advice. Number one, don't submit expired documents. We're wondering why it's held up. It's held up because the document is expired and they're waiting for new documents. Number two, know what the requirements are for whatever the work permit job is for. So if there are additional requirements based on a specialized skill, submit that. Make sure it's submitted. Javon, one of the things that I saw as I skimmed through things is one of the things you have to upload is your job description.
Yes.
Javon, the job descriptions range from 2 sentences to 5-page document.
Wow.
That there needs to be standardized. So one of the things I took from that is, okay, I'm going to help my member businesses and businesses throughout the Virgin Islands learn how to do a job description.
Excellent.
And one of the things they took from it is we're going to have a standardized job description.
Excellent.
Because it can't be comparing one application to the next, just looks completely different.
Right.
And they're all submitting the same information, but it has to be standardized. That will help the staff, that will help the process, and that will help the businesses, especially right now while we have this gap, get their work permits processed so that we can get businesses going again.
Excellent. Now, what I'm hearing from you is the critical need for communication between all these stakeholders, all the departments that are involved in these processes. I want to speak to that very idea, the job board, because it did come up yesterday within that press conference. Michelle McLean, the acting labor commissioner, speaking to it. She says early 2022, we could definitely look forward to that opportunity. But I really want to dive a little deeper. You know, for years we've been talking about the issue of mass immigration in the BVI with such I would think, the population being so heavily expatriate and of course wanting to afford opportunities first and foremost to BVI landers and belongers. I'm going to pose this to each of you. Probably Dr. Dawson can go first. How do you see this collaborative effort really addressing the issue of mass immigration as it relates to reform and also really preserving opportunities for locals?
Thank you, Javon. I think that the key thing is here, one, getting the information in terms of what is needed, what skills are needed, and making sure that the training opportunities are there. For sure, I don't see, given the growth in the economy, there will continue to be the need to import labor.
Yes.
But at the same time, persons who are already here, who are being produced by our own school system, whether they may be generational Virgin Islanders or they may have come with their parents at later stages, I think that they should all have the first crack at opportunities within this economy.
Yes.
And so it's a matter though that if you're going to ensure that industries operate at competitive world-class standards, it means that we must have those persons possessing the skills needed to execute at that level. So the continuous system for us determining what is needed and making the curricular adjustments to make sure that our training is available, and even some of the information that we may glean may help other processes in the Ministry of Education, such as the scholarship program.
Yes.
Because it may be that there are certain things that make sense for us to train individuals here in the Virgin Islands, and there are going to be certain things that just doesn't make sense for us to invest in the level of capital to train 3 or 4 or 5 persons in a particular field. Those persons may be persons that need to be sent abroad, and maybe a priority to be placed there as far as scholarships are concerned. But the key thing is that each one of those entities, whether it's the ministry, whether it's the college, whether it's businesses, if you have the right information, you're in a better position to chart your course, to make your policies, and to move forward.
Excellent. Ms. Whitley Dawson, from your seat at the college.
Thank you, Javon. From the college perspective, we see things through a couple of different lenses. One of the things we have active are advisory committees where they are linked to certain programs or certain industries, and we allow those persons to tell us what they are looking for. And that helps us in providing those skill sets or ensuring that students have those skill sets. Coming out of those advisory committees were suggestions such as these. For example, students need to have an apprenticeship. And so we have incorporated an apprenticeship or internship activity in some of our programs. I must say that that can be improved, and we are constantly looking at ways to get students involved in the community so they can leave Hlscc with the relevant experience.
Yes.
The other thing our advisory committees would say to us is that we need certain levels of certifications with certain skill sets. Hence, we have embarked on seeing that as many of our programs have either a program certification or a course certification, so that our employers would not have any doubt as to what level of skill this particular person is coming with. In the discussions that we've had with the business community, a number of organizations are moving towards organization development for in their strategic plan. They are looking at succession planning. And they're saying to us, we would like you to assist us in designing this pathway to help our employees get from this level to the next. Now, in doing so, we are finding that the skill sets they're looking for across a number of jobs can be filled locally. Now, I recalled a conversation I had with Ms. Kiaya the other day where she mentioned the word sale making. Now, it's a need, but there are not many people who have the skills in sale making. And so one of the things we talked about, how can we align students who are in some of our programs to work or to get some work training with a particular apprentice or a particular master of sale making, so we can develop that interest and keep the wheels churning, because as Dr. Dawson said, we may not have all the capacities for training in certain areas. So those partnerships, some are formal, many are informal, and we welcome areas where our business partners work with us just for the simple development of skills here on the island.
Nice. Now, Ms. George, as we begin to close out, I know one of the things from the BVICCH's perspective that you really want is for the public-private partnership to be strengthened. And clearly this is an indication of that conversation, that collaboration. I want you to speak to, how do you see things improving, as well as touch on any upcoming programs, initiatives that is going to be falling under the BVICCH's umbrella for the rest of the year, that is.
All right, thanks, Javon. I think there is still a lot of work to be done. I'm thankful for the partnerships that have been fostered over my last 2 years with the Chamber of Commerce. Most of them this year, as I was getting my feet wet. I mean, I've known Marva, but I've never had to work with her.
Yes.
I've notice I keep calling him Carl. I've known Dr. Dawson almost, I think, the entire time that I've lived here, but I haven't had an opportunity to work with him until now. And so these partnerships are a must. It is how countries work. Because one of the things that I keep to any government official that'll listen to me is thinking that government's bureaucracies can fix a lot of what's going on here. It won't work. It's going to be slow. It's going to be clunky. It's just going to take all kind of zigzags to get to what it is that you. But if if you just partner with a private entity or several private entities and give them the mandate and let them run with it, it's done. And it's not to say that government staff or public officers are not capable. They are. But everywhere in the world, the bureaucracies of a centralized government especially For instance, in some countries, they've actually decentralized government, and every government department is treated like its own business unit. And when I say business unit, its own company per se, to where they have their own budget. And if you look at dealing with a statutory body here versus dealing with central government here, it's just quicker. Well, if we're not going to decentralize, and I am not promoting that, nor not promoting that, but if we're not, then we have to form these partnerships. And I think this is a wonderful partnership, because how else is the college going to reach as many businesses as they need to, than to go to the voice of business? How else is the Ministry of Education going to reach as many businesses as they need to, than going to the voice of business? So partnering just gets results. And I think this here, I keep saying it. Can you feel it? Can you feel it? It is a match made in heaven. And I don't know if you could see it, but I am super excited, because again, it's something that was on the books from last year.
Yes.
But you mentioned what is it that we have going on? Carl mentioned it already. Next week, I, and probably Carl, I may assign him some, will be reaching out directly to businesses. We're hoping to have 1 or 2 focus group meetings per week, per day, every day next week, because that's just one way that we're going to get some information. Then we're going to go and have a business stakeholder meeting. Thank you, Hlscc, for sponsoring the space, the auditorium. Thank you to our food sponsor, Caribbean Insurers Limited, as well, CIL, a member as well, for sponsoring the food, because it will run through lunch. So we're going to give you a grab and go. So grab your food and go back to your office, or go back wherever you're going, but leave the college. But the purpose of that meeting, again, is just another way to reach the business community. We're going to have a presentation by Hlscc, and we're going to have a presentation by Dr. Dawson talking more about the survey. And then that leads us to the survey. So it's a 3-pronged attack. First, we're going to do focus, then we're going to do broaden, then we're going to broaden that even more and just do a workforce development, workforce needs assessment survey in January. I'm not going to give all the details on that, because more information will come out about that at the business stakeholder meeting on December 7th at 11 a.m. at the auditorium at Hlscc. So I hope to see every business there represented.
Excellent. Viewers, that is December 7th. That marks the beginning of the continuation rather of the workforce assessment, something that is critical to us moving forward. Just yesterday, the Minister of Labor, Honorable Vincent Wheatley, mentioning that in order for us to really partake and really forge forward with the autonomy of the BVI, we really need to be responsible in the process. And I think within that, he means that everyone has a role to play. Also, the Minister of Education, the Honorable Natalia Wheatley, highlighting that yes, mass immigration has long been an issue, but what we're doing today is we are lighting a candle in the darkness. And I think that truly encapsulates and perfectly coins the importance of this collaboration. So I want to thank all of you guys for stopping by 284 Media and educating us on what that program and collaboration will look like. And of course, continue to wish you guys all the best. Thank you so much.
Thank
you so much.
All right, viewers, that was the Education Labor Connect initiative. Of course, some of the stakeholders that will be participating to ensure that opportunities, particularly training and employment opportunities, are provided for BVI landers and belongers alike. My name is Javon Wilson, signing out. Good night.